tous, merci de nous retrouver pour cette deuxième série d'interviews, cette fois-ci avec Steven Koonin qui nous fait l'honneur de nous retrouver à Paris pour cette semaine. Il nous a donné une très belle conférence et il accepte aussi de répondre à certaines de nos questions pour cette série de vidéos qui seront mises en ligne sur le site des Climato-réalistes. Comme la dernière fois, on devra parler en anglais puisque Steven Koonin est américain. Donc Steven Koonin, hello, thank you for being here.
Great to be talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful conference you gave us. So you're a physicist. You work at New York University and you're a member of the American Academy of Sciences. You're a specialist in nuclear physics, environmental sciences and computational physics. And at what point did you start to be interested in climate issues?
I think it started from the early 1990s when I was part of a series of studies for the US Department of Energy looking at how new technologies could help in climate science. For example, the then new massively parallel computers, which are quite common these days, or small satellites for observing the Earth. And so I got exposed to many of the then famous names in the field, to the science itself, and became fascinated with it enough to have started my own research program. So my involvement dates from about 30 years ago.
And at the time, did we already realize that the computers and new satellites observations would almost create a new field of knowledge that would be named climatology?
Yes, already people were talking about climate scientists, but advances in instrumentation, satellites, floats in the ocean, and advances in computing power and modeling certainly have accelerated our understanding of the climate over the last 30 years. But as I hope we will discuss, it's still far from satisfactory.
And at the time, was it already set up for studying climate change, or was it only for improvement in general knowledge?
No, there was already concern about human influences on the climate, and so in fact it was about the changing climate. Before about 1990, climate science was a relatively backwater scientific enterprise. And as the realization that humans were affecting the climate through greenhouse gases grew, the government was willing to put more and more money into research programs that would help us better understand what was going on and what might be going on in the future.
It was at that time that geographers or other kind of scientists, in some sense, lose the game, and then climate became more exact sciences with physicists, geophysicists, etc.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, as our ability to observe and model the climate improved, the physical scientists, the fluid dynamicists, radiation transfer, even the biological scientists started to play in the game in ways that they had not before.
And would you say that it was only a good thing, or that we should keep geographers or other kind of old school climatologists in the game? Well,
the old school folks understood a lot with relatively limited resources and technologies. So I think it's very important that we retain some of the flavor of the, if you like, early modern climatology, particularly as we think about paleoclimatology, what happened with the climate in the distant past, because that's very important to understand to get a sense of what might be happening in the future.
And about historical records, I mean, for example, in France we have Emmanuel Leroy-Ladurie and people like that who were historians and studied climate from the history, from chronicles, etc. And it's was it at the time, and it's still regarded as a useful tool?
I would say it's perhaps even more useful today than it was in the past, because understanding the past climates gives us a sense of what the natural variability of the system is. And one of the challenges in climatology is to untangle the response to human influences from the natural variability of the system. So knowing how things changed before humans played a role is very important. And since our knowledge is always imperfect of those times, the more different kinds of records we can get, the better off we will be.